Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide and another edition of Q&A videos. Let's roll the questions. Fun watch as always. This device has rapidly become one of my favorite daily drivers. I believe this was in relation to Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2 Lumi. I just really want them to finish the work they started with Calendar Memo, fixing the sync and building the integration for to-do lists. It's really good to actually hear different types of experiences with these devices, especially because Go 10.3, because of the active stylus and the front light and everything like that, it's been a little bit of a polarizing device. Some people are like, no, not at all. Other people are like pleasantly surprised because they expected worse. But it kind of remains to be seen, like, okay, but you've expected worse, so it's better than what you expected, great. But what happens after time? Does it remain kind of relatively steady, or does it start to decline and do some of the other things simply because of, expectations now that have been adjusted? And reality starts kicking in, does it actually, diminish the impression of the device? For me, my time spent with the device is that my problem is with the pen mainly, and not the performance. I think it's writing feel and things like that. It has really, really strong elements to it, but it's mainly the build materials and the ergonomics of it. It's really, really hard on the hand. After even like 15 to 20 minutes, my hand starts kind of hurting because it's a metal pen and it's really, really inflexible. And the second part is that I've already experienced on the Lumi the point where, oh, I need to charge my pen. And that becoming a part of your daily life or weekly life with the device itself. I would dread to imagine a situation where I grab the device, chuck it into my bag, and I go, as I normally have been doing for years, with my Go 10.3 Gen 1. That's the one that's on the move. Sometimes it's mounted up, but more often than not, it's the Go 10.3, simply because my main driver is the Note Max, so I stay in the same ecosystem so that I can sync notes and all that kind of stuff. I really would dread to be in a situation where I take out a device and start writing, and then remember, oh crap, I didn't charge the pen, and it runs out of juice. So my way to combat that would be, I've already thought about that, is that I would need two pens. I would need one pen that's always charged, and in the portable one, in the pouch that I normally carry with me, so that if that happens, that I don't have the oh crap moment, but I actually just take the other pen and then go ahead. But that's something that you don't need with the original Go 10.3 Gen 1. So to me, that's a regression. And all of the positives that are kind of said about the writing and stuff, it's like compared to Go 7, compared to previous things, compared to what we expected it to be. But when you compare it and you look at it just on its own, it's not without its faults, and it's something that absolutely has to be taken into consideration. As for the platform stuff, yeah, but as we've seen before, hoping on things to improve with books, especially, yeah, I think you should abandon all hopes. That maybe sounded a little bit too harsh. No, it's just, I don't mean abandon all hopes, but you can hope, but don't count on it. That's what I'm trying to say without being silly. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, simply because we've seen time and time again that it falls either into three categories with books and software updates. Either it's never addressed at all, or when it's addressed in a really crappy way, and sometimes, just sometimes, it's actually being addressed. But unfortunately, that third one is in the minority. So for that reason alone, past experience taught me that, yeah, I wouldn't really count on something like that getting better. Two questions. One, is the writing experience better on Gen 1 due to the pen difference and less layers on the screen? Two, is the resolution or screen quality better on Gen 1 due to no backlight layer? If both answers are yes, then Gen 1 makes so much more sense for what it is, even if running older Android. Well, older Android doesn't really matter on devices like this. QN pitchforks and security, blah, blah, blah. Sure, you deal. For me, the writing is not better. It's faster on Gen 2. The writing feel is relatively similar, but the pen comfort is a problem, as I've already discussed previously. Resolution is exactly the same. The screen is Carta 1200, which is pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is if you're looking at Gen 2, Go 10.3 Gen 2 with or without the front light. Without the front light, it's going to be extremely close. Both performance, image quality, and everything like that. With the Gen 1, almost no perceptible differences whatsoever. With the front light, the Lumi version, it will have a slightly worse quality because it adds the distance and the parallaxing is there. The content is going to be slightly less sharp, slightly less in focus because you have a glass surface on top. All of they are there to refract the light in and out, coming into your eyeballs. So that's going to cause some distortion. And also there's going to be very, very faint, but some darkening of the whites and everything, again, because of that added distance to accommodate the front light. However, you do get a front light, so then you just turn it on and that's it. So that's also a really important thing. Another thing that Go 10.3 Gen 1 was suffering from, and unfortunately hasn't really meaningfully been mended in, is ghosting. So both Gen 1 and Gen 2, all versions, there are some differences, but generally speaking, they're not really performing that well as far as the ghosting performance goes. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But essentially, all three of these devices are using Carta 1200, all technology, same type of technology, so you're about to expect pretty much the same type of results between these three. I counted 3 Boox size in this video, 1825. Random question, but does an active stylus use more or less battery than an EMR? Curious if it drains less battery. That could be why there is still this shift to active. It's not really about the battery, it's about the Wacom EMR related costs and paying the licensing for using the Wacom's EMR technology, and E-Ink deciding to kind of adopt that. They're not dropping EMR technology completely, but for that I think increasingly we're going to see a shift towards active because it's going to be more profit for E-Ink. They don't care about the preferences, they care about profit. You will have cases where a pretty big company like Amazon did with the Kindle Scribe, they will order and design a custom stack display that will contain the EMR layer and EMR technology. So I think that primarily that is the reason for shifting towards active panels, and that E-Ink, as usual, as a monopoly holder, is dictating what the majority of the producers will be able to use and what they will be forced to use. As far as the battery level question, it's a really interesting one. I haven't really measured, so I don't personally know, but knowing the technology that is being used in EMR and on the active pens, I'm pretty sure that the wireless active pen is going to spend way more battery on its own. Simply because maintaining Bluetooth communication is going to be far more battery consuming for the pen itself than the interaction with the electromagnetic resonance, which is what EMR is. That also raises an important point. What is the device going to be spending? Well, you have two branches. You have Go 10.3 devices, Gen 2, they don't charge the pen itself, so the device is not going to spend its battery to charge the pen, but you will have to charge the pen on your own. Or you have the other path with the Tab Paper Pro line of devices, or Tab XC, where the device itself is charging the battery, and that of course is going to increase the consumption of the device. But you also have the other point, which is you have to have your Bluetooth turned on for the active pen to work. And that's something that we've never discussed, actually. Just having Bluetooth constantly on and constantly connecting, disconnecting from a device is going to impact the battery performance of this device. So again, I haven't done any measurements, so I don't know really, but my educated guess, based on all the experience and knowledge that I have about this, is that EMR would be cheaper battery-wise. Thank you, Voya. Great as always. Thank you very much. It's very interesting that you say that Gen 2 and the Gen 1 have BSR, but Boox doesn't say so. Actually, they keep bragging about it a lot with the Note series, but never with the Go. To me, your demonstration just shows that BSR isn't a real thing. Ghosting performance looks very random, BSR or not. When they introduced BSR, they just marketed something that was already there and purposely removed it from devices that already had it. Sorry if it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but really there is something shady with their so-called BSR. I don't think there's anything shady. I think that they thought that they have something to resolve an issue, and BSR was working initially okay, but somewhere along the way, I think that they figured out a software version of deghosting, and it has to do with BigMe. Back then, when Boox actually released their BSR devices, BigMe released also competitor devices, but they were doing deghosting software in their software solutions. I don't know if this was the catalyst, but I'm following the breadcrumb and how the events happened. And since then, Boox has actually tried to adopt and develop and somehow their own software solution of deghosting. And obviously, if they manage to do that, that's going to be tremendously cheaper than hardware solution that they've done. And also BSR was very, very expensive for the battery life or battery consumption. You may be correct that none of these devices that Go line doesn't have BSR. Probably was my mistake. Sorry about that. But it does have some type of active refresh solution, whether it's BSR or it's a software-wise. It is present and it's there. But apropos your comment and observation that it feels random, it does. It actually just kind of flickers around and does some cleaning, but it's really not intelligent at all. And it completely ignores like really problematic issues, which are always, and I can't understand that for years Boox was unable to figure that out, that once you close any of the overlays, UI overlays, which have strong black and white icons, you need to clean that up. They never did that. BSR, non-BSR, active software deghosting, they never do that. And it's always terrible. Even with any technology that you have, is basically what you do with it. And what we're seeing Boox do is much like everything else that they're doing, which is kind of random. Hi Voya, is this Lumi a good enough device to university master students who read PDF textbooks and take notes? Any features on Note Max that you think it's an absolute must for university students to use? Thank you. Features regarding Note Max and university students, size, because you will be able to effortlessly use 2 pages or 1-page document and a notebook for taking notes at the same time. On a 10.3 inch, you can, technically you have that, but it's so small and so cramped that I really don't like it. The second point is the writing feel. I really prefer the writing feel of the Note Max in a longer term use. If you are doing a lot of reading and everything like that, then that matters. Third point, again, back to the size, but this time readability of documents, because a 12-point font or a 10-point font is going to be much more easily readable on a 13.3 inch device than on a 10.3 inch device. So if you're doing a lot of reading, that's going to be a big impact on that. Lack of front light on a Note Max is absolutely something that you have to take into consideration. So that's where the Lumi makes more sense. And the final point to definitely take into consideration is the fact that Lumi, or Go 10.3 Gen 2 Lumi, uses an active pen which will need separate charging. It's not charged by the device. You have to be the one who monitors the charge of that pen, and it will happen. Sooner or later, it will happen where it will run out when you need it. I just purchased the Note Max and this keyboard. The keyboard now comes with 4 little pads, maybe thanks to your video. That was the in regards to the flipbook keyboard flipbook cover for Note Max and Tab X devices that Boox had. And originally when they came out, they had hardware design issues that were genuinely dangerous for the screen, because you had like 2 points of impact that were raised above anything else, and they were contact points with the screen, small focused contact points with the screen whenever your device is closed and actually supposed to be protected. And it's interesting to kind of hear that and to see that. Whether or not it's the video and me being very, very vocal and loud about that issue, even though a ton of people actually criticized that, because they were like, why are you spending time on that and talking about it? Because I care it's wrong. And if somebody kind of bought it, it's going to screw up your device. That's why I'm doing. And in hopes that maybe the producer will kind of hear these things. And in this case, whether it's that or something else, I don't know, because I haven't had communication with them. But the end result is great, because the end users end up with a better product, a safer product for their pricey investment. So if my nagging about it and making videos about it led to that outcome, I'm happy. Before posting your opinion, especially if it's negative, we would appreciate it if you did some research. Because of you, I cancelled the order for this device, and now I see you admit you were wrong. In my opinion, you've lost credibility and trustworthiness. An apology is useless. The damage is done. That is, I believe, in regards to the Boox Go 10.3 Gen 2, where I expressed my concern about the active pen and the move towards the active pen. And I'm just going to reiterate my reply here as well for those who may be of a similar type of thing. If you live in a delusional state that you think that a talking head on a YouTube has the force and the power to make you do anything, you are deluding yourself 100%, because you and only you are responsible for your own actions. Your responsibility is what you're going to buy or cancel, the purchase itself. Your responsibility also goes towards following advice or opinion of a talking head online. That person can say whatever they want. They can be completely laca loco, and we've seen tons of those. And guess what? It's your responsibility what you do with that information, not other people's. It's just you. The active pen is okay, better than I expected, but still not as good as EMR. An annoying compromise I'm willing to make for a move for a more white, black and white 300 ppi screen that also has a backlight. If only the pen were EMR, this would have been a near perfect device. Again, we're still sticking with the Go 10.3 Lumi because there was a lot of comments on that, so that's why I'm kind of addressing a lot of them. You raise a really, really good point, because it's kind of ridiculous how long we've had 10.3-inch panels out there, but yeah, there's like only a handful of the ones that can be had that are 300 ppi, 10.3-inch monochromatic, not Kaleido 3, monochromatic, and that they have a black-white. You do have the Penstar eNote 1 and eNote 2, and that one has absolutely excellent image quality, and for reading it's quite good, but the platform is blech. And the writing experience and everything else regarding writing is really, really blah. So it's not something that can be really rightfully compared with the Go 10.3 Gen 2 Lumi. The pen isn't that bad, but it's not as good as EMR. Maybe having EMR would have affected the price point. So I would extend the question now is like, would you be willing to pay $50 more for the same Go 10.3 device, but that it had an EMR pen instead of an active pen? let me know. Excellent review. The pen has no eraser at the back and you can't buy one that does. This is disappointing. I hope they fix the ghosting. I hope they release a Boox Note Max Gen 2 Lumi, or even better, a 12-inch version, which is the perfect size for academics and still portable. The pen has no eraser on the back, which is a complete missed opportunity, because one of the reasons to switch to an active pen and active USI technology is that it gives you more opportunity and more interactive points. And you could have had more buttons and more stuff, but no, actually you go the opposite direction, so worst of both worlds. Apropos fixing the ghosting, don't get your hopes up. Hasn't happened on Go 10.3 Gen 1 in 2 years, hasn't happened on the Note Max in 1.5 years. I see absolutely no reason that it's gonna happen on Go 10.3 Gen 2, especially because it's using the same Carta 1200 display as the Go 10.3 Gen 1 version does. And apropos Boox Note Max Gen 2 Lumi, well, no, no, not only Lumi. Only if they release both versions, like they did with the Go 10.3 Gen 2 here. So one without front light for people like me who rely on environmental lighting and have different sets of priorities. And for those who really do want a front light, then great, yeah, have that as well, so that everyone is basically catered to. 12-inch version? I don't think that's gonna be happening if they have a 13.3-inch version. That's definitely not gonna happen. Alright, that's it from me for this edition of Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. See you next video. Bye.